We'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure there'll be some more people that come in shortly. But welcome to e-commerce in the age of COVID-19 with Tom Alexander, sponsored to you by West Growth and powered by KettleSpace. My name is Noah Goldberg with KettleSpace. And for those of you who don't know, KettleSpace is a physical and virtual co-working space in the greater New York City area. We have a new online platform called KettleSpace Virtual. It's currently in beta and is available as a complimentary feature for the existing KettleSpace members and their extended circles. This online feature has resources that helps connect members professionally and socially by giving them the access to expertise marketplace, a directory to all of our members, a huge list of discounts on products and services, and a community on Slack message board. The best part about this is that it is completely complimentary, so free to everybody. So I'm really excited to pass off the mic to Tom Alexander, who's going to give you a little bit more info on things that we're going to be talking today about e-commerce. So without further ado, I will pass it off to Tom. Thank you so much.
And KettleSpace is one of our clients here at West, so it's a great privilege to be co-hosting this event with them. Since the COVID lockdown, I'd say one of the greatest one of the greatest things we do is bring our clients together and in more of a physical space. And so we've just started piloting these with our KettleSpace, and so far it's gone well. And we're trying to theme them into different categories that we think people would have in common. And it's really interesting, even though you're all in e-commerce, to see the different observations and experiences you're having. So it's one of the most enjoyable things we do. And it's probably why Mark Brenner actually is joining us, and he is the co-founder of West, for those of you that don't know him. And then our other colleague, Sean, is here, who heads up business development. So as you can see, as busy as we all are, those guys are taking the time to join us tonight. So we can, we can ask, they'll be happy to chime in on this space. Probably about 40 to 50% of our clients are in the e-commerce space here at West. And for those of you that don't know who West Growth is, if you're looking to raise money, I would encourage you to check us out. We've developed, with the guidance of Mark, an investment readiness platform that is based on some real insights that maybe whoever's got the plane could please mute their or unless the bird turned into a plane, I don't know. But we built this platform that's specifically designed to get our clients ready for investment based on these 5 principles. And it really zeroes in on 2 key areas: strategic focus, the things you need to do from a strategic goal setting standpoint, and then financial discipline, the things you need to know and be ready so when you're in front of those investors, you're buttoned up. And we've had a great deal of success. And again, I'm sure Mark and Sean can chime in if you have any specific questions about investment as we roll on. But Noah's going to kind of play the role of gatekeeper here. And where we like to start is just with the world has changed so much as of late, both in kind of negative and positive ways we've seen from these webinars we're hosting. So we'd like to start off with a question to get the dialogue going about what you're seeing that's impacting your business the most. And then we encourage everyone else to chime into those statements and observations with questions you might have that can help you in what you're trying to do. So really, just with that simple question about observation, it opens up the floor to lots of good dialogue. And I would also encourage you to use the chat. In fact, I'm opening mine right now. We already have a couple of people doing it, which is great. You can ask questions through the chat as well, and Noah and I will help facilitate those questions to individuals. But I'm going to turn it over to Noah. He's going to play the role of MC in terms of engaging folks on the line. And again, it's really, what are you observing out there that's impacting your business the most? And then let's have an open discussion about observations around that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, for saying that. So hey, everybody. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask 2 questions, and feel free to elaborate on these questions. We want this to be very informal and to be more of an open forum for you to express the challenges that you're facing, and then to also give people insights on how you're potentially dealing with those challenges. So I'm going to start calling on people. And the question is, how has COVID affected your e-commerce business? And if you don't have an e-commerce business, that's fine as well if you're interested in it. How has it affected you in the way that you're going about your life and your business? And then 2, how are you turning that around? Are there any tools, tricks, tips, anything, any advice that you could give to other people to help you suppress some of that negative impact? So I will first start by clicking on Amy Minners. What do you think? Amy, you there? Okay, we'll skip Amy for now. Oh,
Sorry.
hey, Amy.
So I don't have an e-commerce. I'm just see idea how you guys trying to get a, you know, because every company has a different situation. So I just like
please.
to listen.
Yeah. Well, what do you do? What do you do for work, Amy?
I'm a producer for a fashion show, jazz and flamenco, and everything shut down, so I cannot do anything. So,
I'm sorry to hear that.
no. So if I go in different, you know.
Yeah, what have you been doing in the meantime to help provide, you know, a light in the future for yourself?
Cut down on the people, you know, artists, instead of 10, make it to 3, because I know theater is going to be full. It cannot have a full seat. I'm sure it's going to be half. So it's trying to make it to the small artists to make it happen.
Okay, awesome.
Now, maybe I can elaborate on my e-commerce business.
Yes,
so
please.
The COVID deeply affecting our business because we mostly exporting dietary supplements made in US to China. And so it's stopped basically, harshly. And now I'm starting thinking how to expanding the products in US market. So that's why I'm very interested on the e-commerce. Personally, of course, it's affecting everybody that developing a domestic American market, you need a lot of social connections and community. And at this point, you isolate it. So that's why I'm eager to learn virtually how this could be done and improved.
Great, awesome. Thank you so much for your insight. Maybe we'll round back to more specific needs that you'd like to get out of this. But next, I'll just go ahead and pass it off to Maria Negulescu.
I can go next.
Maria, are you there?
I have to start. Yeah, I have to unmute myself. Yeah. So I'm kind of interested in the I don't know how it's affecting people, but a lot of people are switching to use e-commerce and different contactless, pointless, you know, sale devices and readers. So I just wanted to know, yeah, what other people are going through.
Awesome. So what kind of e-commerce are you in?
Oh, I don't do any. I help stores with a way to do contactless readers and that kind of thing, and e-commerce platforms. So,
awesome.
But it's been very popular lately. So yeah.
Totally. Tell us more about that, Maria. What do you do? You're helping with contactless readers. What?
Contactless readers, like the stores can't have. I don't know, just they can't pass back and forth a credit card anymore. So you have to have something that the customer does everything now. And yeah, so I've just been doing a lot of that. So
contactless, I get it.
Interesting, very interesting. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. Geraldine, I think, did you say that you wanted to be next?
Yeah, hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I have a terrible light. That's why I was trying to. Here we go. So I sell. I'm a musician, and I've had this like part-time, you would say, business of online classes taught by Broadway performers. So with COVID, I went full in on that, and it did very well. Like I quadrupled. It was like a dream come true. It was like, hell yeah, I'm nailing this. And then they just like basically a couple of weeks ago, once every musician realized that they were not going to work for probably another year, while like everything reopened, everybody went, nope, no more classes. We're not buying anything. So everything went like, again, complete crash, nobody's buying. So now I'm looking at China, Japan, and I'm also like interested in exploring like just other ways of doing online classes, maybe not just Broadway performers, but I'm just kind of like trying to bounce back again 2 times in 6 months. Woohoo.
Wow.
So
Very
yeah,
impressive.
thinking about like China, Australia, Japan, anyone who has any insights in like Broadway and like not Broadway in and of itself that I do that, but interest for that would be helpful.
So what was how did things start to slow down? You had gangbuster interest at first, and then you're saying as things are still pretty well closed down, right? So what was the cause of the lack of interest, I guess?
I think there's a few different things at play. One is that I sold mostly through my own Facebook group, and because it quadrupled so fast, I think after a couple months of it, some people in the group, it's like 8,600 people, couple of people, like about 20, a core group, started feeling really like probably jealous or something of like, well, we've been on unemployment, we're struggling, why are you making money? And they started feeling like I was making money off of them, and they went on to kind of a witch hunt. But I don't want to I think part of it is that, but part of it is they're looking at unemployment, the $600 ending at the end of July. So I know a lot of the conversations I've seen have been very much looking for jobs. People like are actively looking for jobs, and they're successful musicians, right? They've never done anything else. So they concretely are not getting jobs. And then I think the third part of that is that all of that happened kind of around the same time as Black Lives Matter, because the theater world is always very involved with diversity and activism. And so I think everybody's heads kind of went like, this is more important, and that's what we're going to do. So all of these different layers of different things happened kind of at the same time and went.
So is it online lessons you're doing, like musical lessons?
Yeah, it's all taught by Broadway performers. So I'm just trying to expand, not just geographically, because some of our clientele is already from China and Australia and the UK, but I'm actually trying to now like be very active about it. And I had some concrete like contracts pre-COVID that were planned with like us traveling to China and doing things in like music schools and stuff. So it was already kind of in the works, but now I'm like, let's do that full on, you know?
Where are you based in New York?
I'm based in New York. I'm currently in my home country of France, but I've been in the US for 17 years.
Awesome.
So you probably need some advice on content marketing in those, and you're wanting to take it to other countries then, sounds like.
Yeah, I think just even like the process of like how to reach people. I'm just trying to have conversation and learn about, you know, the market. I know they like in China, I keep thinking China because I know they love Broadway, and like every Broadway shows that tour like are widely successful. So I think there would be a big interest, but they have the firewall. So everything is harder as far as like online.
Yeah, I can double confirm that you need a different social media strategy, but let's take that offline.
Yeah, you should connect for sure.
Thank you.
You can chat with a specific person too, guys. So if you want to chat directly together, you can do that. Get each other's contact information.
Sure.
Yeah, totally. At the end of the conversation, I will post a Google Doc that'll allow people to put their information so that you can officially connect after with like your LinkedIn or however you want to do that. But great. Thank you so much for the insight, Geraldine.
Thanks, guys.
So Erin Brown, what about you? How are you doing?
I'm good. Hi, everyone. So I am based in Chicago, but I've actually done KettleSpace when I spend time in New York as well. So I am actually like a pre-launch startup, so more of like a marketplace model. So I'm building a marketplace for first-time and middle managers they can access one-on-one coaching, join virtual peer groups, and access on-demand courses, trainings, etc. So I guess I kind of wanted to join in on this as being pre-launch. Obviously, I haven't been hit from a revenue standpoint with COVID. However, obviously, knowing companies are tightening the purse strings a little bit on things like leadership development and coaching and stuff like that. So kind of facilitating that commerce marketplace model. So kind of here to learn and kind of see about people's experiences too.
So middle manager training and development, is that kind of business training and development?
Correct. Basically, I'm building a marketplace of vetted coaches and connecting them with companies and managers who are specifically looking either for one-on-one coaching or virtual peer groups primarily. But it's kind of in tandem building out like online courses that I can sell as well.
As professional coaching, like professional career coaching or personal?
Leadership and career coaching combined. So basically I'm targeting the week of August 3rd launch. So having basically 6 coaches to start out with, and specifically kind of a couple in the leadership space, a couple in more the career management space, and then a couple more strategic business coaches to help managers with more tactical, management things, budgeting, leading team meetings, one-on-ones, all those types of things.
Mm-hmm. You've done an analysis of others that are providing the services in similar veins, like have you done some? I
have an in-depth competitor analysis. Like I've gone through like a Founder Institute Accelerator program and stuff like that. So I've kind of been going through that.
When's your launch date?
It is the week of August 3rd. So targeting August 3rd, but I think that's the Monday.
Great. Are you starting geographically focused, like in Chicago, or are you, because it's virtual, you're
more niche specific? I come from an insurance background, so I spent 12 years in the commercial insurance space and in team leadership roles. So I'm specifically targeting small to mid-size insurance brokerages and companies, which obviously have a huge presence in Chicago and New York. So I'm kind of focusing on markets.
So Sean Kohlrich on the line here will probably reach out to you if I know him. He has deep experience in insurance, so I'm sure he might lend some good advice to you.
That would be great.
It'll connect with you directly on LinkedIn right now.
Yeah, and I saw Carlos posted a question about launch. Yeah. I was originally planning to launch more like March, April, but kind of delayed it and focused a little bit more on development and community building, increasing brand awareness, stuff like that. I also made a bit of a pivot from a marketing approach and really making it community driven and really kind of pivoting the kind of go-to-market strategy around that as well.
Yeah, the community aspect is really interesting in that, for sure.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. Lauren Nettleman, what's your take on this? How are you doing?
Hi, this is Lauren.
Hey, hey Lauren.
Yeah, so I'm totally shut down. I am in a place where I'm trying to bring my business to more of an online presence. And I studied musical theater in college, and I've had my business for 4 years. So I definitely have, I've grown to learn how to run my own business, but e-commerce is totally like not in my vocabulary, and selling online is not in my vocabulary. I recently had a call with Sean, and that was very helpful. Like even just learning like, hey, you're going to have to pay sales tax for each, state that you sell to. And, there's so many intricacies to e-commerce than just getting on a platform and selling your product. So I'm hoping being here will teach me a few things of what ducks that I need to get in a row to bring my company online. What my company does is, or what we did do was food demonstrations in grocery stores. And I got into it because as a performer, we needed to find good part-time jobs, and actors need time to audition. So I have thousands of artist Facebook friends, and I was like, well, this would be a perfect thing for me to do because I could just hire my artist friends and we can go do demos, and I can make sure that they can get to their auditions, and they're the perfect people for the job because we want to talk to everyone. We're super charismatic, and in theater school we learn, what's your super objective? What do you want from the person in this scene with you? And behind the demo table, it's just that, but with a product. So our super objective is to sell this product, and we use tactics to get it. So if you're a businessman coming in from, after work and I'm selling a cold brew coffee, I might say, this is great for you to have on your lunch break, in the office. It's shelf stable, keep it under your desk. whatever. And I love it. I hope it comes back at some point. But I am in the place where I've already received my predominant 90% of my work comes from Whole Foods. And they've sent an email that we won't be allowed back in the stores till October, which is super daunting. So I'm trying to bring my idea of bringing samples to people online, which is kind of crazy. So anything, pretty much I'm starting from scratch here. I've gotten nowhere. So I just want to learn on what programs people are using. The only one I've heard so far is Stripe, like a way to take payments and they charge you. But I'm like, I've only heard one. Is there one that's better than Stripe? You know, who has the best rates out there? Is there a platform that handles not only taking the credit card and storing that information, but also taking care of paying the taxes to the states in which that transaction comes from? So any piece of information that anyone can give to e-commerce lifestyle, I'm here to listen.
Does anybody have any advice on that from the e-commerce world?
And Geraldine is, you know, you're kind of in a similar space with performers there. So I was thinking you two should definitely connect.
Yeah, I actually already put my email address there.
Nice. Awesome. So I can speak to Stripe, Lauren. We use Stripe at KettleSpace, and I find it to be very efficient. So
Great.
That is in consideration. I think it's a good one.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
So Lauren, when you talking about Stripe, are you talking about going directly to consumer with your demos, or is it?
So pretty much the short idea of my idea is a subscription box, but of samples. To pretty much get brands to send me sample size products of their brand and me facilitate to consumers what they want to try and send it to their home.
And Whole Foods was your client, which is an awesome coup there. So you were already up and running in store doing sampling in Whole Foods?
Yes, I've been in there since, I have been in the industry for 8 years. I started as an independent contractor working directly for different brands as a brand ambassador. So I did that for 4 years, and then I started my company, and then I've had my company for 4 years. So I've been in Whole Foods for 8, but 4 of those with my company. So yeah, and pretty much what happens is the brands hire me. They say, Lauren, we want you to do 30 demos at these New York City or New Jersey or Connecticut stores. I take that and then I schedule them out. I train the brand ambassadors and make sure they have all the supplies they need. And then we sample to the consumer and hopefully get those sales of that product out the store's doors.
Yeah, so your guys are doing like a little story about the product and then the people are tasting it or whatever.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that someone like Whole Foods wouldn't see the opportunity to have little snippets in their app, right? Like,
yeah, Whole Foods did send out a survey. They're thinking of like putting sample sized products in like online orders. You know, the brands want to get their products out there, and now we can't. So we're trying to find different ways of doing that. So the thing that I'm trying to get off the ground is sort of like a subscription box service where people can kind of pick what they want to try and I send it to them. But it's a long road to knowing how to get that set up when you're coming from a boutique, company who's just doing this, within the Northeast region, and everything is, just face-to-face contact, to all of a sudden needing to get online and doing it fast. I think that's the problem I'm running into is the turnaround time. Like this, if COVID wasn't an issue, I would at least have income coming in from doing demos at Whole Foods and say, oh, I have this awesome idea and I could take my time to get there. But now it's like, I don't have time. So being here is awesome because hopefully I could take some information and be able to kind of get on the road a little bit faster.
Yeah. And then the shelf stable issue, right? I'm assuming you have to limit the types of products that you can sample and ship out.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. That's gonna totally cut out a big subset of products. But you could easily do coupons or could do something, but it's not the same as a face-to-face and being point of sale. Like you have the product in a bucket or on the table and they try it, and then it's literally right there for the customer to just buy. And that there's nothing that can take that away. But I'm trying to at least, do something that can take its place as best as we can.
Awesome. I had one thought on that, Lauren. Have you thought about reaching out to like property management companies to have like these sample baskets or these sample packages be an amenity or a perk to people who live in apartment buildings in New York City? So like say like I moved into an apartment and one of the perks was like once a month you get this sample basket or you get this sample the sample box. Just an idea.
That's an interesting idea. I after talking to some of my brands, something that's really big to them is knowing if that person like is a target customer for them. I do work with a lot of organic and natural products, and one of my brands is a cookie and it's vegan, it's gluten-free, it's allergen friendly. It would be a waste to give someone a sample of that if they would never touch it, and it's just a waste of money. So I definitely am going to be integrating target market like questions to the subscribers that sign up to know exactly what I should be marketing to them.
Awesome.
I mean, one of the things, Lauren, I
thought it was just me. I was like, I didn't know it.
Let's give it a second for everyone to hop back on.
What?
Technical difficulties.
Hey, Noah.
Hey, guys. Hey, Anita. Sorry about that, guys. There seemed to be some technical difficulties that just arose.
Oh, good. I thought it was me. I was like,
Yeah.
So give it 2 seconds, and then we'll just hop back into where we were.
This is why I miss KettleSpace so much. Like, Zoom is cool and all, but I'd rather be in person with you all.
Yeah, totally.
While we're waiting for everyone to come, I've been always on Instagram and looking at your website, wondering when you guys are like gonna allow us to come back to your spaces, because I love KettleSpace so much. Do you have an idea? Because you're in this weird purgatory. You're like, you could be phase 3, you could be phase 4. And of course, then you have the second step of like the restaurant or hotel saying, yes, like we're open, but yes, you can come back in as well.
Yeah. So we're rolling with the phases to answer your question there. So like as the phases undergo changes, we'll be opening our spaces. Hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we'll have our first location back up.
Yeah. And how are you guys going to handle distancing? Will we have to sign up for a slot to like have a seat?
Yeah. More to come on that. We'll keep you updated. But yes, the answer is yes, something along those lines.
Great.
Yeah.
Hey,
but
Lauren,
I don't. Yeah. Tom, go for it.
Hey, so Lauren, I had a question for you on your sampling.
Sure.
Because I feel I'm thinking like, gosh, I know how much hard work you've put in to develop presence in these stores, and the your training is all around like how to bring these products to life, right? And there's only so much you can do without that, right? And I'm just wondering if you've thought about an angle of kind of reinventing the whole sampling approach, right? Because right now you figure, I go to Costco, and they have all the samples out on the tray. That's going to go away. Like it's going to be single serve, and you're going to want to feel like this has been like almost like a seal on it. Like I'm just wondering if there's a way you could go back to Whole Foods and say, hey, I've actually, I've really researched this and studied this, and here's a packaging approach. I have individual sample packaging that I can apply to Whole Foods that makes it a whole new thing and still allow people to sample it, but it's in a safe way. And then you kind of market that to others and expand. You know what I mean? Like rather than, I don't know, because you figure we're going to get out to stores, but people are going to be a little leery of the whole idea of sampling, right? So how can you kind of slightly reinvent that to be more antiseptic, if you will, in this emerging world? You know what I mean? Like, is there a way you can still do what you do, but slightly different?
Yeah, and in the email Whole Foods sent out, it's just October is when we would go in and be able to give out closed sample packages of products. And then in the new year, the plan is to get back to what we used to be doing, probably with maybe like a clear face shield and extra protections around it. But in the long run, just making sure we can get back to what we were doing. But that's the new year. And I think still, if you look at what I do, there's multiple steps into making sure I can go back to work. So technically, I would say that I would either be a phase 2 or 3. So the government could say yes to me, but then now Whole Foods has put a timeline for me themselves. So I have to follow that. And then once that timeline comes and I say, okay, I can get in the stores in October, then I have the hump of going to my brands and saying, do you want to try this? And then I could be told no there. And then my main concern is the consumer. Okay, well, the brand said yes. Now I'm here at the table, but what if they say no and no one's trying it? So yeah. I'm working on too many people, where I think just, procuring a box of samples that someone says that they want to try, using it in an educated way. I have a whole business proposal that I've sent to my brands, and they're saying that they like it, but I don't know if they're saying they like it because they're like, we like it, but we also like you. Like, well, try it because we know the work that you do.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to give it a shot, but the e-commerce part of it, I'm just like, I have a web developer who's ready to build my idea, but the intricacies of getting the product sold is something that I want to look a little bit more into.
Yeah, and you talked to Sean, you said.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren, for your insights and everything. It's really interesting.
Andrew, what's up with you, man? How are you doing? How's your business?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, good.
So we've had, COVID was a real hit for us, as it was for everyone, but we had planned our launch around a really opportunistic pop-up in Palm Beach. Our products we're launching fabrics, wallpapers, tabletops, so that's like dinnerware, table linens, all sorts of other things, and we're really kind of spinning this brand out of an interior designer with a lot of a really great reputation, lots of press, naturally, a lot of organic stuff. And so we had really wanted to kind of ride out all of her own contacts and the buzz that she has in the industry. So we found out about 3 days before our pop-up that everything was going to be shut down. So it hit us in a couple different ways that, made us really kind of pivot more to thinking like a regular e-commerce business. We hadn't been thinking about doing any paid advertising. We really wanted to ride out her full reputation, but we moved all of our kind of immediately ready to sell products down to Florida for this. And they all immediately got stuck in a warehouse that also wasn't allowed to open. So we had to really think about how are we going to tell this story to people on the consumer side. So our fabrics and wallpapers were really targeting designers and decorators. So it's kind of like a B2B2C. In that they buy the products or sample them, they show them to their clients, and then they take them and turn them into other products. And what we found instead with our launch that eventually we actually just launched last Thursday, we had a lot of good press around it, lots of visits on the site, but everyone wants to know, what can I buy now? Even decorators who are typically used to this longer cycle, maybe 3 months between seeing a product and actually getting it in front of their customers and ordering. We have people who are decorators who are actually asking, do you guys have pillows made, lampshades, all this stuff that we had created for photography, basically, to kind of show our products. Now that's what people want. So what we've had to do, unfortunately, our supply chain is a lot of Italy, France, a lot of stuff made here in the US, but not that much of it. So we're kind of selling samples and using the opportunity to test the market on those, see where people bite, and see where we might want to reinvest in actually producing those products. But what it's been for us is, there's a lot of stress around, oh my gosh, now we're like a digital native e-commerce business selling home goods. Look at who we're competing against. It's, you're looking at Wayfair, you're looking at all these other people, and those are kind of the price comparisons. And we are very high priced for what a consumer would say, because we're actually kind of targeting high-end decorators who are working with very high net worth individuals. So what we found is that there's a lot of sticker shock. And instead of immediately saying, okay, let's discount everything to try to move things, we've decided to invest a lot in photography. So we turned our office into basically a photo studio because we couldn't find any photo studios to do this stuff. And our photographers that we worked with before, left a bunch of equipment for us so we didn't have to pay for in the meantime. But a lot of the conversations we're having are now, instead of going to these markets where we have a captive audience that's self-selected, they're there to look at these design weeks and it's a bunch of decorators. Now we're having to figure out, okay, what are our two kind of tracks if someone comes in as a consumer versus someone who comes in as a decorator who's used to this kind of long lead times in the process. It's been difficult, and we're kind of changing the site every day in terms of adding, even changing how we're merchandising things. So a lot of work with visual merchandising. We built our whole thing on a Shopify platform, but our designer and developer in-house did a lot of tweaks to that. And now we've found that our in-house skill set doesn't quite apply as well as we thought to really having to shift these things around. So I feel like we're getting into a lot more of the flow that a regular e-commerce business is in terms of really checking how are people looking at the site, what's the user experience, while still trying to make sure we maintain the awareness over kind of the fact that we are selling to the trade and we want decorators to get really excited about this. But if all the people coming to the site are just people who want to buy the product, how do you manage that experience without it being a really disappointing one? Like the press that came out, a lot of it, this is, I guess, the magazines in the space. These are all home magazines. They want to tell whatever story gets readers excited. And so that mentioned all of the inventory we kind of planned to have for sale over the next, it was supposed to be available over the summer. Now that's pushed back to fall. And so we're selling samples. And what it's been for us is just a lot of work trying to figure out how do we automate a lot of these conversations, these processes, and there's lots of amazing tools out there, but even wading through all of those to choose the right email platform, to make sure everything's integrating, make sure our inventory software can handle the fact that we now have all of these warehouses with tiny bits of inventory all over the place that we now all of a sudden want to fulfill from. These were places where we had kind of opportunistically placed, for example, our vintage and antique furniture, which can be like $500 to ship a unit, and you might only have maybe making $1,000 on that item. It's really caused us to look forward and really simplify that whole model and say, okay, what can we actually make money doing that people want versus what is the vision for this whole thing that we can't really tell without these opportunities to get in front of our clients and do the whole tactile, the experiential, create the whole feeling. And so we're positive in that we've, on the fabric and text, on the wallpaper side, we've sent out thousands of samples over the last 2 weeks to hundreds of different customers. But then there's this lag, they have to show it to their clients, leave the samples with their clients. And that is something that I've been talking to a lot of other people in our industry. Everyone kind of wants to know, what is a new brand doing? Because our competitors have very large retail footprints, not really in retail, but in showrooms. So they're in these expensive design centers paying, basically high street leases with no one allowed to go in them. So everyone, what I'm hearing is that people are doubling down on their investment in sampling. And so we've run out of a lot of samples. And I guess right now we're just really trying to look at, okay, and not saying how would we have done things differently, but say, okay, what if this lasts through the year? We're not going to be able to get in front and have these face-to-face conversations. What's a different format? And so we tried out kind of a series of informal presentations where we'd have about this many people on a call going through the collection where they've received, samples of our own. And we found that the format for that, we did it as kind of like a cocktail hour type thing. And what you found is that the opportunities to talk about your product and to really show these things, people are kind of like, oh, I'm on a casual call now. I kind of know some of these names. I don't really. So now we're saying, okay, let's definitely try to reach people during the workday so that this is, this is about the fact that we're trying to build the B2B2C. But from a consumer standpoint, we're really having to look back and say, how do we have done this if we were like a digitally native home brand? And you can see in our space, everyone's trying all sorts of things, but, getting our platform ready, getting our inventory in the place where we can fulfill quickly and kind of meet the standards of the consumer versus this long lead time where you can kind of figure it out. No one really cares about the immediate availability. that's been a big shift for us, and hopefully getting more photography, showing people what this stuff looks like in person, or in a space, can help us do that. But it's definitely been a challenge. But we also added a couple really wonderful members to the team, which was hopeful that even in this time we could find some nice people to who are really willing to be flexible and figure this out, because everyone needs to be pretty nimble in this, in every single role in our business, just stepping in, lending a hand wherever they can. And I'm excited to finally get to speak with more people in the e-commerce space, especially within the West group. But that's where we're at.
Awesome.
So
Thank
Andrew,
you so much. Oh yeah.
Is your supply situation still delayed?
So we had put the majority of our investment into the fabrics and wallpapers, because these are like they can be up to 3-month lead times if it's coming from Europe, high minimums. And that's where a lot of our investment went. And then a lot of our other products, the tabletop stuff, we're doing embroidery in Rwanda with a group of women who started a cooperative. We're doing, porcelain in France, and they're all artisans. And so what we saw is you could place a big order, and what you're going to find are just slight discrepancies. And, it's difficult to communicate that stuff without being in person, saying, hey, this is all done by hand. So these are natural imperfections. Whereas if you look at our photography, it looks perfect, that someone's expecting exactly that. They might still be just as beautiful, but we're really having to be careful about, okay, what are the size of orders we really want to place for these finished products when we're not exactly sure that this is what people want. So our investment going forward, we're trying to find partners who are open. We're not working with factories. We're working more with workrooms, think large scale artisan groups. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them are either working under the table or are completely out of the office, or they're sewing things at home. So it's a really difficult thing to say, okay, we're going to invest in creating our supply chain for this period when it's going to be obsolete as soon as things do open up. So we're just trying to build photography assets, get some supply so we can start to say, okay, these things that we thought would move, they really haven't even gotten any attention. Whereas the items that got press, as you might expect, that's what people are looking for. And navigating those conversations around, we can actually make these things to order, but that's not what people expect. So this whole idea of, initially in our first year, trying to get traction with the trade, have them kind of build a reputation with their clients, which would then generate pull for finished product. We're having to kind of figure out, okay, how do we do this if the decorators don't have many projects, if their projects are delayed or suspended, how are we still going to keep this buzz and move some of the inventory we do have? So it's, we're gearing up for a big holiday where we can actually have, a full range of products that are available. But that's, even that's difficult, 6 months ahead of time, trying to kind of fast track certain orders. People are telling us, we're not even allowing rush payments. And it really helps me realize what the real supply chain, what the real lead times are, what are the real kind of buffers we have to build in, and hopefully get to a place where we identify some really key partners. And we're actually considering bringing in-house, seamstresses to be able to kind of do this stuff faster and have some more control over it. But that's also difficult because we don't have a space that would be great to put a sewing machine in the middle of the office. Those things are not, they're pretty loud. I don't know if you guys have heard a workroom like that going, or any kind of sewing factory. But we're just trying different things, and making sure we're tracking every conversation, looking for trends and how people reach out to us, or where perhaps there are frictions in signing up and all that stuff. So,
When did you launch your online shop?
Well, so we launched the online shop officially last Thursday. We got a few thousand visitors over the first few days, and now we've gotten, a couple hundred every time we get a different mention online. Surprisingly, people are paying for samples of fabric. That's something that we weren't expecting. We have a system set up where once we verify that they're a real decorator, there's a lot of people out there who they're not actually selling it. They create a business just to be able to source things cheaper. I'm not really so concerned about that, but people in our industry, we do have one showroom in the South that is adamant about not selling to individuals. And so I'm more of the opinion that getting these things out there into people's homes is fantastic. It generates pull for other people, but it's kind of an awkward, it's kind of awkward navigating that. But again, our website, it looks, we're competing with a group of peers who are really focused on this sales agent, agent showrooms and own corporate showroom model. They want to get people in there, learn about their practice, and then build a relationship. Our site looks like it's more of it's Casabranca.com if you guys are interested, CASABRANCA. And we tried to make it purposely look more like what people are used to shopping on. And that's because we're also targeting this next generation of designers who don't necessarily buy into this model of, always working through a sales agent or bringing your clients into a showroom. I mean, now that's a really tough sell for your client, saying, hey, we're going to spend the day going to, I'm not sure where you guys are, but like, the D&D building in New York, or, the Pacific Design Center in LA, or these giant, they're huge malls basically with super luxury showrooms where you can't buy anything. It's all just samples. And so I think having a really clean web experience and a lot of great photography helps us punch above our weight, and hopefully, not have to get to that point of the conversation that, oh, these are kind of one-off samples that we're posting up here. But at the same time, I would love to see what people are really going to bite on. But again, the price discussion, it's really difficult when you have someone searching an equivalent item on Wayfair and we're 10 times that price. That's really difficult. And that was not something we had prepared for. Where do we add copy? How do we make the copy look as good on our platform as it would be, if you could design a full document? And, so we have, our team is basically all half designers now, people who have InDesign and Photoshop skills, so that everything we put out there is branded in the hopes that if this is the thing that if this is the only way we get to touch people is through this website, we're hoping that can help us justify the prices, which, our margins are equivalent to our competitors. It's just about letting people know what kind of business they're dealing with. And if you look at equivalent luxury brands, their marketing spends are through the roof to justify 4 times markup on product. And now we're having to figure out, okay, how do we maintain a good relationship with our showrooms and our kind of suppliers who need to get their cut while still being competitive on pricing and keeping consistency across the board. And that's difficult when you have, multiple channels with taking wholesale or not, and then trying to be flexible with customers as they come to you while not damaging that relationship of your showroom who's just sold it at a higher price or who's just said no at that same price. Does anyone here sell through both wholesale and direct online? Yeah. Or is anyone here in kind of a physical product e-commerce business?
No.
No.
So that, I mean, I think it's even harder for you guys who are selling experiential or some kind of value add. But again, for us, I find that, was it Lauren before talking about the samples? There's even innovating in the packaging and innovating in different ways, that things that photograph well, but that also have an interesting, take. I think that there is a big opportunity there, and just kind of repackaging what you have and experimenting in this period, and just making sure you're set up to capture that information. What do people respond to? How are they using your site? Where do they come in from? That's, I mean, I guess that's regular for all people in e-commerce, but when you don't have someone whose job it is just to look at user experience and marketing, it's tough to make sure that you're capturing all that stuff and not having to go back afterwards and do the work there.
It sounds like one of the things you really need to do is zero in on the 1 or 2 or 3 products that could really move, and you're not sure which ones those are, because the lead time seems like it's substantial for all of them. So there's tactics you can do online that help without even selling products, that help get at that, help people selecting products that they would want to buy without actually selling the product. So there's some different tactics you can do around that. And it seems like that's what you need. You need to zero, because you already have beautiful photography to try to demonstrate, right?
We do have great photography, but what we had done is, fabricated all these really great products and kind of staged them in shots. And what we found is, okay, well, people don't which one are they picking out in that photo, or are we cropping in on an item? And now what we've had to do is, regular product photography where the scale is consistent. So if we're selling, a set of plates, and these are really expensive plates, everything can't be the same size in the image. It all has to be, kind of scaled correctly so people can get a sense of that. And, it's definitely not something we had budgeted for, but at the same time, what we had budgeted for was following around the designer who designed this whole line, was going to be speaking in 5 different cities in 3 months at all these market weeks. So we can say, okay, we're not moving any inventory, our kind of roadshow thing. We're not paying for flights. We're not paying for hotels. So where does this go? And for us, it's gone pretty much directly into photography for products.
Yeah. But if you work with a good digital agency, they can guide you through that. How do you merchandise products without even having the products to get an idea of which ones would sell?
And we don't have a digital agency that we're working with right now. We kind of did it all ourselves, just myself and my partner. So that's the next step. It's figuring out, okay, now that this is set up and we see what we don't know, figure out what we don't know. I guess that's kind of the whole thing with this whole pathway, right? Is just finding people who can point that out. Yeah.
If you're Sean here would be happy to speak with you from West. I head up the marketing, so then I can talk to you about different agency relations we have and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Sean, and he can. Yeah, he
well, guys,
great.
We have a couple minutes. I'll go for it, Sean.
Were you referred to us by Recreo?
Oh, by Recreo, yeah.
Recreo? Sorry. Charlie?
Yeah, Charlie Coleman. That's right.
I thought so. I wasn't sure. I know we've got a couple clients that, like yourselves, do e-commerce and wholesale, so I can put together a list and send you the links. And I think you're on mute.
Well, I was saying that fashion is at least we're lucky that our products are not seasonal, in that we have seasonal drops, but those products stay in our lineup. And if you look, so at least we don't have to shuffle things out and really kind of massively discount, everything that we can do. At least we're hoping that these are assets we can continue to use for the next few years or even beyond. So definitely, but having an agency that can help us take advantage of what we've just invested in would be definitely an important next step.
Yeah, we could definitely talk to you more about that, and I'll work with other clients that might be able to shed some more light on their own experiences and kind of connect you directly there.
Great.
Awesome. So we only have like 1 minute left. I'm sorry about the disturbance and technical difficulty in the middle of the event today, but I want to give Anita, I know Anita hosts yoga classes, and I know she's been trying to do that online, so it might not be specifically e-commerce, but it definitely relates. So how's your experience been so far?
Hi. Yeah, thank you, Noah. My business has actually grown. I had just started it before COVID, a year, but I actually have more students now, and I'm finding that the folks that I work with actually like the convenience of just being able to roll out of bed and do yoga. And I work with people who, maybe are like, have a movement limitation or are working in a larger body. And so they actually like kind of the privacy of it and not having to be out necessarily. I wanted to join this because now that I'm doing this, I'm like interested in how can I reach more people and different strategies. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And then Carlos, I think you were the last person who has not spoken. What's your take on all this? How are you doing?
Hi. Yeah, sorry. So I feel like almost everyone touched on some of the difficulties that we had and we have had. We are a pre-launch olive company. And I think that the major issues that we have faced have been with respect to how we are going to be doing the distribution, how we are going to be doing the sourcing, since we work with companies from Europe and also other farms in Latin America as well. But so originally we had planned to launch in July. And like Aaron, we similarly had to reassess and change when this was going to happen. And a couple of other things that we also are going to look at moving forward is similar to what Lauren was talking about with having the problem with the sampling and how we are going to first present it to the public. And we had thought about something similar to what Tom pointed out, of like giving the people a single sample experience and trying to make it so that like people feel safe. However, we try to put it whenever we actually implement the strategy for it. And I also found really useful how Andrew said that at the beginning was when he started and having to reassess his entire strategy, it was doing a lot of small iterations and changing the way that he had thought everything and kind of rethinking as if everything was to be a web first strategy. So I think all those are common things that we share on how problems that we possibly will have once we launch, and in things that we are spending more time now in thinking of alternative strategies. Luckily we hadn't launched at the time when it all started, but this is definitely one of the most important things that we're trying to figure out now, is like how to encapsulate all these different strategies that people are trying right now in order to make it the best possible. But it's a work in progress, as I think it is for everyone.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. We're a little over time, but I think that's okay because of the minor hiccup in the middle of the event. KettleSpace hosts a bunch of events, so I'm going to pop in our next event, which is an improv event next Wednesday, July 8th. So if you guys are interested, it's a super fun event, really engaging, tons of people. So I'll pop that into the chat. I'm also going to put a Google document in which if you want to put your information into it for networking purposes or friend-making purposes, put them in there and we'll share it with everybody. So I will pop that in the chat as well. But yeah, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Tom, if you have any last words to say, that'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, I think thank you, Noah, for distributing the contacts. That's the main thing we wanted to do, is you guys familiar with one another. And Carlos, what an excellent job you did of summarizing the whole hour. you kind of like
well, thanks.
Did a great job of pulling in all the thoughts for us, so appreciate that. But we just encourage everybody in this kind of crazy time, especially with early stage companies, to reach out and connect, because everyone, you know, has the same desires to help one another, and we appreciate that. And feel free to reach out to me or anybody from West with the questions.
Thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Sweet. Thank you,
Thanks
everybody, so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.